Oh my goodness. Joel Beya here. Welcome to Market Madness, the podcast from GiveMeSport, where every day is like deadline day. And we are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and X. Market Madness is the ultimate football podcast for fans who want to go beyond the headlines and into the stories that shape the transfer market. Now, you can search at GiveMeSport across social media. Feel free to comment. We'll try to read them out, interact with people. And you can also listen back to the show later on your podcast app of your choice. Links can be found in the show notes. For more info of any of the stories discussed today, head over to GiveMeSport's website. Myself, Joel Beya, part-time Palace fan. Resident journalist Ben Jacobs are back for episode 15. And Olivia Buzaglo, we've missed you, girl. She'll be here really soon as well. We're actually just interrupting her holiday a little bit. And she said, go on, I'll join you guys. But I have to say hello to Mr. Jacobs himself, the busiest man of this period. How you doing, man? You good?
How you doing, Joel? It's busy. The window is open. So there is lots of breaking news. Looking forward to getting into it.
Oh, I can tell, mate. You look like you're recording from a potato at the moment. I know that you are really busy traveling all parts of the world to get the news. And am I correct to think that you're going to be at the Club World Cup as well?
Yeah, Club World Cup from the 14th in Miami for the opening game. Messi involved, and then a bit of Chelsea, bit of Man City. Real Madrid, of course, playing too. Al Hilal from Saudi Arabia. So it should be a good 6 weeks. Surprised that you've not got a freebie to go there yourself.
To be honest with you, I was actually supposed to go there, but I've actually got quite a few things that I'm doing with my agency here. So I'm going to have to sacrifice Miami. I'm going to have to sacrifice Florida. But you know what? I'm going to be living vicariously through your Instagram, etc. But I have to say, coming up today, the Telegraph football writer Luke Edwards will be here to give us a summer transfer window preview. Which names and clubs should we be looking out for? Of course, we look back on the men's and women's Champions League finals. Arsenal. Now, this season has finished. Attention will be turning to the summer of football at the FIFA Club World Cup, like we've just spoken about with Ben. We're going to give you the ultimate preview as well. One of our favorite games is back. Real or fake football teams. That's right, man. I've been all over Europe and I think I'm ready. I'm ready to take on this challenge against Liv and Ben. We've also got Charlotte Harper, football commentator and writer for The Athletic, who will be here to chat about Arsenal's Champions League victory. And all that, plus Ben, brings us the latest breaking news. All of that stuff. Okay, let's get into it. This is Market Madness from GiveMeSport. All right, cool. So we have Mr. Ben Jacobs, who will be back soon. Look, the question is very simple. We're going to ask him once he's back and once he's not. I'll let you guys as the audience know the challenge question that we usually do with Ben during the show. We want to ask Ben, what is the latest on Federico Chiesa's future at Liverpool? Does Slot want to keep him? Yes or no? Now, for me, I have to talk about this a little bit. When it comes to Chiesa, I thought he was such a problem seeing him play, in Italy, and especially for Italy in the national team. I can only think that injuries have really ruined this guy's career, man. It's not been easy for him at all. But seeing him in Liverpool, I thought, oh, that might be a good signing. And then I kind of saw him play, and in the second half of the season, obviously he still needed to gain his fitness, but with all those injuries that he's had, I just don't know if it's going to work for him. But listen, I'm just a presenter, right? We're going to get Ben Jacobs to go ahead and answer that question. That's the most important thing. I want to know if Ben is available to talk to us, because we've had news this morning that Mr. Bruno Fernandes has turned down a move to Saudi Arabia and turned down 200 million a year tax-free. Is he crazy? Just to me.
Well, I think if you're only looking at money, then clearly the finances weren't a problem, Joel. But the reality is Bruno Fernandes has made a decision for his family. And that's the key thing in all of this. So last week, the agent of Bruno Fernandes went to Riyadh. He met with the Al Hilal president, Fahad bin Nafel. They had productive talks. They were relayed to Bruno Fernandes. who was on a post-season tour with Manchester United. And Al Hilal thought this deal was kind of close, certainly in terms of the football pitch and obviously those financials, £700,000 a week base, plus match bonuses, plus team bonuses, free accommodation, car, flights, and so on. And all in, £65 million a year, if you factor everything, but 700,000 a week if you're only looking at the wage. But Bruno Fernandes is thinking about three things. Number one, does he want to go to Saudi now at 30 when he can go after the World Cup? And would going impact his performance, given his age, probably his last ever World Cup? Two, does he want to leave Manchester United, who have a tight PSR position, but have been quite ambitious so far in the market, with Mateus Cunha in on a 5-year deal and Brian and Bruno, another player that they seriously want to do, and regardless of the Bruno Fernandes situation. So they have the money to do those two. And that's good news for Bruno Fernandes because he's got backing in terms of goals output and even competition in the position where he plays. And then three, what was right for his family. And you may remember, Joel, that Lionel Messi chose to go to Inter Miami, despite also having a deal very close with Saudi Arabia. And the reason was because Messi felt that for his wife and kids, it was simply a better move, America over MLS. Kevin De Bruyne prefers Napoli also over Saudi Arabia, similar reason. So I think after deliberation, this was a family rather than a football decision. And that is why he's turned Al Hilal down, even though, as you say, if you just stick the finances in front of you and me, it's hard to believe that anybody would say no to that kind of money.
I'm sorry, but to me, it's got.
Just when we start talking about money, Olivia rocks up.
Liv, do you know what the rumors? Do you know what the rumors were on the show?
What?
The rumors were on the show that me and you fell out, right? And there was a big wage argument with GMS, and then it was either me or you, and then we had to take turns on the show until we got back together. And it looks like the contracts have been sorted, and they gave you a bonus holiday, and that's why you've been on the show with me at the same time. I still need to negotiate my deals as well, but that's the deal. That's the word on the streets.
Yeah, that is absolutely right. It's all come to a conclusion now. We're back together, ready to rock and roll. So, and it's cloudy where I am, so it's not even sunny, which is great. Yeah.
Well, you look great, I'll tell you that for sure. But we have a guest on that we have to bring on the show because I know that the guest has been waiting. We've had time changes. Hint, hint, Mr. Ben Jacobs. Anyway, if we can please bring in our guest because we want to get the news, man. We want to know what's going on.
Hello. Hi, guys.
Hey, how you doing, man? Mr. Lee Wingate, how you doing? How's the Sweeper podcast going?
Yeah, very well, thanks. We're just winding down at the end of the season for a couple of weeks before it all starts up with the Club World Cup again.
Oh man, I know. Are you going to be there directly yourself as well?
No, unfortunately not. I'll be following from afar, but we typically focus on outsiders and underdogs at these kind of tournaments. So we'll be looking at this from the perspective of clubs in Africa, the one in Oceania, South America as well. So going to be all across it, just not there live, unfortunately.
Nice. Lee, I'm actually working on it for DAZN from home and then going out there for sort of the latter stages. So I am really excited. I've just jumped in, so I don't know where you're at with this chat, but I'm just quite keen to know about any cool teams that are in it with like exciting stories, or any teams specifically we should be keeping an eye on ahead of the Club World Cup.
Yeah, well, I think coming at it from an outsider perspective, as I tend to do, I definitely have to mention Auckland City from New Zealand. Because, you look at the list of clubs participating in this tournament, it's all the biggest ones from Europe, Bayern Munich, PSG, Inter, Real Madrid. But there is one club from Oceania, from OFC, the Oceanian Football Confederation, and that is Auckland City. And the reason that they really stand out compared to the rest of the clubs in that lineup that you've got on screen there is that they're actually a semi-pro team, described by some media sources as an amateur team. But essentially, they have a squad of players that have side jobs. So this is not even their main job. You're going to have a team, people that are involved in painting and decorating. I think their playmaker, Dylan Mackinham, he works on a building site. you've got a defensive midfielder, Mario Ilic, who is employed in sales and was actually unable to participate in a previous edition of the Club World Cup because he couldn't get time off of work. So I think these guys are the ultimate outsiders, and they're going to be going up against the likes of Bayern Munich, who have got riches in abundance. So I think it's going to be a tough challenge for them.
I have to say, I'm probably going to be supporting them now. I like a story of the underdog. And hey, if you supported Arsenal the whole year, then I guess I'm ready for a bit of despair if that does happen. But what are in your opinion, like obviously there's teams to watch out for. Any particular fans that we should know that are up the most for this tournament?
I think I'd have to give a shout out to the Wydad Casablanca fans from Morocco. There's a magazine called Ultras World, and they regularly do an Ultras ranking. So basically, they rate the hardcore fans from different clubs all over the world based on who has the best tifos, the best atmospheres at their games. And in 2023, they ranked Wydad Casablanca fans as #1 in the entire world. In fact, their cross-city rivals, Raja Casablanca, who aren't at this tournament, were ranked in 6th place. So the Casablanca derby is one of the feistiest in world football. And I think that provided there are no problems for fans getting into the United States, because as we know, under the current US administration, there are some difficulties for travelers. I think that they will create a real presence and make a real name for themselves in the States.
I'm really excited. I mean, Joel, I'm not sure if you know what the Club World Cup is, but you actually have to win a European trophy to like be involved. But when I was at the Club World Cup, I went when Chelsea played in 2022. It was in Abu Dhabi, and I think we played Palmeiras in that competition. And the Brazilian fans, I have not seen anything like it. We were talking to fans, and like they were like, "I've sold my house to come here. I've my wife doesn't know," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like it feels like the Brazilian fans or the South American teams in this competition take this competition like so seriously. Would you agree with that?
Definitely. I mean, before it became the Club World Cup in its recent, in its more recent formats, it was just the winner of the South American Copa Libertadores versus the European champions. And the Copa Libertadores was actually specifically set up in 1960 to find a champion that could take on the best team in Europe. So it's a big thing for Brazil. They've got 4 participants as well as an exception, because the way it works is that the winners of the Copa Libertadores over the past 4 years all get a place at the tournament, and they've all happened to be Brazilian clubs. So you've got Palmeiras, Botafogo, Flamengo, Fluminense. They're all there. And what's quite interesting is that Brazil has actually carved out a month in the middle of the season for a break in the domestic campaign, because that usually runs throughout the calendar year, throughout 2025. And there's going to be a break specifically for the Club World Cup to give their 4 participating teams the best chance of winning. And I think that tells you how seriously that they're taking it.
And what are your thoughts, obviously, just about the tournament in general? Obviously, it hasn't been like this before. It's always been, a very small 2 semi-finals and a final. So what do you make of it now actually becoming, I suppose, its name, a World Cup for clubs?
Well, I think there's a common criticism that the players obviously already have a lot of games to play throughout a domestic season, and it's more games. But by the same token, I think that it's really interesting for a lot of football fans who regularly now see the same clashes in the Champions League. You regularly have the same teams getting to the quarters, semi-finals. Apart from the odd exception, you might have a good run from Ajax or Porto, but it's more or less the same teams. And I think that it should be really interesting to see how the European teams stack up against the best from other continents. It's on a scale that we haven't seen before. So I think I'm curious to see how, if European teams really do dominate as we expect them to, if perhaps an outsider from South America or Africa can go really far. So I think mostly my prevailing feeling about the tournament is curiosity, and I am looking forward to it.
Well, many thanks, Lee, for joining us. You've been fantastic, and I'm actually looking forward to it now, and I've got a new team to support. Please make sure you check out the Sweeper podcast for more niche football chat. They're on all over major podcast platforms. On X, it's @SweeperPod. And next up is our summer transfer window preview with Luke Edwards from the Telegraph. For more info on any of the stories we've discussed and much more, head over to GiveMeSport.com. This is Market Madness from GiveMeSport, and oh my gosh, I think we've got breaking news. Let's get to it.
Well, it's Chelsea breaking news. One for you, Liv, because you're back with us on the show. Just before we get to a couple of fresh lines, we should point out earlier today, Chelsea took the decision to send Jadon Sancho back to Manchester United for a so-called 5 million penalty fee, which overrides a 25 million obligation to buy. And the reason why is essentially because although Chelsea had a willingness to sign Sancho, and he's very, very well respected at Stamford Bridge, the wage package was not agreed. Sancho arrived on a very large number and would have had to fit into Chelsea's wage bill and their incentive-driven structure. They couldn't reach an agreement. Sancho is going back. Technically, his contract expires June the 30th, but my understanding is he won't be going to the Club World Cup. And that is because he has some other options that he wishes to explore during the month of June. It's not quite as closed book as Garnacho, Rashford, who do not have a future at Manchester United, but it's highly likely that Jadon Sancho is sold, and that will help Manchester United fund their summer business. The newer line, and it's a slight change in Chelsea's position, is they've made an inquiry in the last 24 to 48 hours on the Milan goalkeeper, Mike Maignan, who was a name of interest in the first window when Clearlake Bowley first took over, but it's gone quiet since then. And this is a move out of opportunism because there is a ongoing contractual situation and the Milan goalkeeper only has 1 year left of his current deal. So they're either going to have to sell now or keep him and risk losing him on a free transfer, presuming, of course, they can't extend his terms. And it's suddenly a lot harder for Milan to do that because they finished 9th in Serie A and they're lacking next season the appeal of Champions League and, of course, the money that comes with it. So I think Chelsea have suddenly seen a window of opportunity. And the reason why I say it's a departure is because the expectation was always that Rob Sanchez, Philip Jorgensen, Jordi Petrovic, Strasbourg's player of the season, and Mike Penders, who's highly rated, would all come back for the Club World Cup, would all be assessed over the summer, would be given a ranking, and then from there, whoever was perhaps unhappy, particularly out of Petrovic and Sanchez, with that ranking, might be off, and Chelsea would be open to that. And then they would assess if they needed one more goalkeeper in the group, because Penders, for example, could be loaned out somewhere. Now it looks like Maignan is a market opportunity, and if they succeed, he'd be coming in as a number one, and that would almost certainly call into the question the futures of both Robert Sanchez and Jordi Petrovic. So Mike Maignan, an approach has been made, no bid at the moment. We'll wait and see whether that changes. And Chelsea are trying to be opportunistic in case Milan feel forced to sell now because of their financial situation and their lack of Champions League football.
Oh, because, yeah, the one thing Chelsea definitely need is another goalkeeper. Yeah, that's definitely
But he's good, though. No, but Liv, he's proper good, he is.
I know,
He's
yeah,
good.
and I've seen a lot of Chelsea fans get excited about this, but
Yeah.
I just think, I mean, a goalkeeper should be a priority. It should be, but it's just, we've got a ridiculous amount of goalkeepers, and I'm a bit disappointed about the Jadon Sancho thing as well. I think it's frustrating that obviously Chelsea have a wage. It's not frustrating Chelsea have a wage structure. It's frustrating that they couldn't come to some sort of agreement, because I just felt like, as much as like I only saw glimpses from Jadon Sancho, that in this day and age, 25 mil for a squad player like him was actually a no-brainer, really. So it's a bit disappointing. But then again, on the other hand, I do not think he did enough to warrant like starting every week for Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? He had moments, but yeah, that's an interesting one to keep our eye on.
I think I want to add, going back to the goalkeeper, you said you don't have enough goalkeepers. You've got a lot of goalkeepers, but they're all crap.
Yeah,
and the reality is you
Say it how it is,
guys,
John.
yeah, I mean, you guys, your base has always been solid goalkeepers, whether it be Kudachini, whether it be Czech, so I don't think it's a bad thing at all, to be fair. And he's very comfortable. And also with the Jadon Sancho point, I think you're right. Like for that amount in today's football, it's not bad, especially for a squad player. The only thing that is a little bit tricky is the fact that he wanted the same wages that he had at United. Now, Yeah, and in his point is like, why do I need to go down 150k like when I'm on this money now? But the only point that I would love to do a bit more research on, maybe Ben can help us offline, is if, and I'll ask you this question: if Jadon Sancho has a year left on his contract, yeah, because he does at Man United, it's done June 2026. Like, do you think it would have been good business for him to drop down and then kind of like sign a 3-4 year contract? Because then he's with a team that is potentially gonna, like, I don't know, could win stuff in it. Or
what you think? What Jadon Sancho should have dropped his wages?
I'm asking you, do you think, like, if you're thinking about the future, do you reckon you played a smart game and you go, look, I'm on 300 now, I'll drop down to 150, so I'm on 150k?
Yeah.
Or is it a thing where he's thinking, no, I'm going to be able to go on a free next year, I'm probably going to be able to get, I don't know if you'll get the same amount, but a bit more, I don't know, like, you know, I'm not sure.
Fly
Sorry.
thingy about. Yeah, I don't know. It does feel like Jadon Sancho just is not chasing the money, but it does look like that maybe he's going to run down his contract, or he'll go in the summer. Like Ben said, apparently he has options elsewhere that he wants to explore, like for June. But he looked happy at Chelsea. He looked settled. He looked happy. He was involved. Like every time I saw like training pictures or any pictures, he was just involved, laughing. Like he just, I don't know if he felt like at home. And it's just a bit disappointing. But I mean, only Jadon Sancho will know how this has happened, why it's happened, and the decision he's made. And it's going to be interesting to see what clubs are going to be in for him and whether or not he can get that money. Because I think it's actually really, I don't think it's realistic to be on that. That is ridiculous, that amount of money at United. And United have done that for ages, put players on ridiculous wages. I just don't see.
He's only 25 as well. So it's like, don't get me wrong, when I first saw the news, like you, I was a bit like, why is he going for that much money? But now I'm like, I don't know what he's game planning. And look, only he'll know anyway. So it doesn't matter. But you know what, Liv, I think our guest is here.
Oh, okay. That's perfect timing.
Yeah, it is. I think, can we please bring in Luke? I'm getting signs from the producer that Luke is in the building.
Yes, Luke Edwards from the Telegraph joins us. Welcome back to Market Madness. You've been on this pod before. Pleasure to have you. You doing okay?
I'm doing all right. It's a pleasure to be back. It must be that time of year again when all we talk about is transfers.
You guessed it. Yes. I mean, it's going to be a busy time, as it always is. But I think you've picked out 7 players. You have a top 7 list for us of players we should be keeping an eye on this summer.
Yep.
Can you please let us know who they are?
Oh, I've forgotten now. That's not very good, is it? You're gonna have to edit this out.
I'll give you the first one. Bryan Mbeumo.
Yeah, Bryan Mbeumo. Well, we sort of last night it sort of broke that he wanted to his preferred move is to Manchester United, which I think has shocked a few people. Manchester United's obviously aura hasn't been dented that much by failing to play in Europe next season. It's a slightly strange move. It's an odd story, actually, written by David Ornstein in The Athletic, because a player has effectively said where he wants to go, but that club has made no contact with Brentford. I think Brentford are upset about it. It looked like an attempt to me to try and sort of pincer or squish Brentford into a bit of a corner in terms of, well, if he wants to go to Manchester United, then Manchester United are only going to pay what they think his valuation is. I think Brentford will be hard sellers. I think it could therefore be a bit of a story that runs and runs. And I think the idea of that story is to scare off other potential suitors, the likes of Newcastle, certainly have a strong interest. Arsenal, Tottenham have all been linked with him. But that story suggests that the player only wants to go to Manchester United, so it'll only be Manchester United at the negotiating table. That isn't what Brentford will want. Brentford will be annoyed by it. So we'll have to see. And I don't think as we've seen in the past with Ivan Toney and other deals with Brentford, they're very, very good sellers, tough negotiators. And I think Manchester United are still going to have to find the best part of between 60 and 65 million pounds to make that transfer happen.
Luke, do you know what's strange to me? All over social media, I've seen images of Mbeumo in a United kit, and I'm sorry, but I thought it was done.
Yeah, Joel, I know. Well, that's the dangers of social media, isn't it?
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, it's not done. They haven't even started talking to Brentford yet about a fee. So
crazy.
It is strange. It's strange that a story comes out like that. It's part of the negotiations. Somebody around Mbeumo has said that he wants to go to Manchester United. That obviously puts Manchester United in pole position, Joel, that he said he wants to go to one of the biggest clubs in the world. That will, in theory, scare off the other clubs who are interested in him from spending that sort of money. But I think there might be a few twists in this one yet, Joel. I really do. I think it's very, very early to be mocking up Bryan Mbeumo in a Manchester United kit when Manchester United haven't even had any talks, no talks whatsoever with Brentford yet.
This is breaking news to me. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Like, I thought the producer made a mistake when I saw him on the list. I was like, why is he on the list? But you know what? That's why we have you here, Luke. That's why we have you here. What about Bruno Fernandes as a player to watch out for? And of course, obviously, Garnacho as well. But let's start off with Bruno.
Yeah, Bruno, it looks like he's I think he had a big decision. I mean, the amount of money that was on offer to him to go to Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia, the £100 million fee. I think he was going to earn something like £200 million a week or something like that. This isn't just life-changing money. This is your grandchildren's life-changing money. This is generational wealth that he was being offered. But it looks, Joel, that he has, and I have to say I'm glad about this because he's one of the players I really enjoy watching in the Premier League.
You looks like Bruno. Selfish, Luke. You're a selfish man. That's what you
are. It sounds like Bruno. He's used family reasons as an excuse, but I think there are professional ones there as well. The Saudi Arabian League is still perceived as a bit of a retirement home, isn't it, for elite players? I know even Ivan Toney went out there last summer, but there wasn't a move for him in the Premier League. But it is mainly aging players. And Bruno obviously believes he's got a lot more to give at the elite level, and he wants to be playing in one of the high-profile leagues in Europe. And he's at one of the biggest clubs in the world in Manchester United. So I think he's turned it down. It's one of those moves, a bit like Mo Salah at Liverpool. It's a move that I think he can probably postpone. I think that move will still be there for him in 12 months' time, 18 months' time, possibly even 2 years' time if he wants it. So I'm glad he's staying at Manchester United because he's obviously already on very, very good money. But he stayed for football reasons, and I think that is a good thing for the Premier League and obviously for Manchester United.
No, it is. I have to say that's the first time. Like, if that's the only way I'm staying. If we've got it in writing somewhere that in 12 months I still get the cheeky 200 milli and I still get to stay at United, then I understand that. Go on, Liv. You were going to say something.
No, I was going to say, obviously, Bruno obviously looks like he's their best player by a mile. He's got a future at Man United, but does Alejandro Garnacho?
I don't think so. I think we fired the starting pistol. It's a phrase I love during the transfer window. Fired the starting pistol on his departure. Very frustrated comments from him after the Europa League final defeat to Tottenham. Felt he should have been starting. He's a homegrown player in the slightly regrettable world of PSR. That means his sale would be pure profit for Manchester United. And he's criticised the manager. And all the signals have been that he's now effectively been told to find a new club. Napoli have been interested. I think Garnacho's got a lot of untapped potential. I think there's been flashes of a really, really good player during his time at Manchester United, possibly more under Erik ten Hag than Amorim. But I think he's burnt his bridges with Amorim. And when you come out after a game and publicly criticise the decision not to play you, I think you're on borrowed time. And let's face it, they might be one of the wealthiest clubs in the country, but in that PSR world, Manchester United need the money to fund their other activity they're doing. They're all signing Cunha. They want to sign Mbeumo. They need to sell players to raise the money to buy those players. So Marcus Rashford is another one, of course, isn't he? While we're on Manchester United, it's a shame. I think Aston Villa would have been a good fit for him. I don't know whether that's going to happen. I think he's got his eyes set on moving abroad. Barcelona have had a long-term interest, but Manchester United want £40 million for him, plus his wages of more than £300,000 a week. Marcus Rashford is a difficult move to do. Manchester United aren't going to want to do another loan deal. They're going to want that £40 million. But can Barcelona afford a £40 million player and take on the burden of his wages? That's another really interesting one at Old Trafford.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose that's the red half of Manchester covered. I just want to quickly move over to the blue half because it does look like City are being active in this window. But what does this mean for Jack Grealish? I mean, I, for one, would love to see him back at Villa. I don't know how realistic that is, but I just feel like now's the time for him to leave City.
Oh, Olivia, me and you singing from the same hymn sheet on this one. I would love to see him back at Aston Villa. He's a Villa boy, a Brummie boy. They were his club. You know, I know there's a bit of acrimony about he left, but he did leave for £100 million. He did sign a new contract, and as we've seen with some homegrown players, with Trent Alexander-Arnold, you don't have to do that. You know, he could have just refused to sign a new contract and run his contract down and left for a lot less money, but he did sign that new deal. That ensured he protected his value. At the time, you can't really blame him. Aston Villa weren't quite the force they are at the moment. Well, nowhere near the force they are at the moment. They weren't anywhere near playing the Champions League. He went for the benefit of his career, and he had 2-3 really good years at Aston Villa. He's won the lot there. It's obviously now he's not really playing under Pep, and I think Pep was quite emotional talking about him at the end of the season. Is that Jack needs to go and play? James McAtee is another one at Manchester City. He's in the same boat. Jack Grealish needs to leave, and he's still 29. He's just about the right side of 30 still. And that move that pulls on my heartstrings, Olivia, is that he goes back to Aston Villa, his club, and has 2-3 really good years there, and sort of confirm his place in the club's history. He was so popular at Villa. He was once upon a time, he was the only good thing about supporting Aston Villa, and it would be great for him to go back. But look, Man City again have got a problem. Huge wages. Coming off a pretty average season, there will be interest in him, but I think they'll be more interested in loan deals than permanent transfers. But if he's going to go anywhere, I would love it if he went back to Aston Villa.
We can hope.
He's only had 2 good seasons at best, and this season has been average as a stretch. I mean, it's been poor.
Wow.
Joel's
going in 2-footed now.
No, it's the truth. We have to be honest.
2 at City, or do you mean just 2 in general?
2 at City.
Oh yeah, fine. I thought you were talking about Villa as well.
No. 2 at City, and this season we've barely seen him. You know what I mean? Like he's not been good, and I also worry that as much as I want to see him back at Villa, I think Villa have moved on. If I'm honest,
you make a good point. Yeah, you make a good point. Like, they may have no need of him, but who does have a need for him? It's like he's been linked with Newcastle. Why are Newcastle going to sign a 29-year-old who plays on the left when they've got Anthony Gordon and Harvey Barnes? So those top clubs, he might have to go abroad as well. We're waiting to see. I just think it's Olivia and I are the same. We like the romanticism of the story.
Yeah, we do. Get out, Joel.
This is emotion, Joel. This is emotions.
I've had seasons. I've had seasons when Arsenal could have won the league title 3 times. I care nothing about emotions no more. I'm done with it. But moving on to Arsenal news very quickly, if you can help us out, Mr. Edwards, what's the updates on Benjamin Sesko and Gyökeres, please?
Well, it's going to be one of the two, I think, isn't it? It sort of flip a coin on them a little bit. Joel, you're the Arsenal fan. Who do you want? I mean, I think Sesko is the one they've had the longest interest in. I think they've tracked him for the greater period of time. Very good player. Would solve a lot of their problems, Joel, that you'll be all too aware of not having an actual striker to score the goals that makes you win things, Joel, because you need a striker to win things. And Arsenal seem to have everything else in place, but apart from that striker, my head says Sesko. I think just because Arsenal have put in the work for him over a longer period of time, they were trying to sign him last summer as well. So I'm going to go for Sesko, but it probably is a bit of a flip of a coin between the two.
I think they're going to go for Sesko as well, but I would probably prefer Gyökeres because I think he's ready. He's like, put him in there. He's ready now. I don't care about development at the moment. I need league titles now, you know. So for me, I would go for him. But also, here's a theory, Luke, right? And you tell me what I think before we move on. Why don't we, instead of investing £92.5 million on a striker, why can't we do what all these other good teams are doing? Look at PSG. They've barely got a striker, but they've invested the money in a top winger like Kvaratskhelia. And if he matches those numbers on the left, for example, whoever it is on the left, then Saka does on the right. And then you've got to have so you can go for a more average striker. Your goal numbers it's the same as a striker scoring 30 goals a season. And if you look at a lot of the top teams in Europe, that's what they're doing. Because right now, the number 9s, you're paying 100 million, and there's no guarantee that this player is going to be top. Whereas you can pay 60 million for Nico Williams, and you know you're going to have a good output, and you've still got money to go buy a striker.
Well, you're a brave man suggesting that Arsenal don't sign a striker this
Yeah,
summer.
no.
I like that, Joel. I like what you're saying. I like what you're saying. There's logic there. You replace the goals by having prolific wide players and not worrying too much about your central striker. But who would you then go for as your central striker? Where are you shopping? Who are you looking for?
But this is the thing.
They think Havertz is okay.
No. But the funny thing is, he's actually an option. But you can then get someone who's there's other players out there that you guys are. It looks like you're going to get Rory Delap, right? But how much is Rory Delap?
I hope we're not getting Rory.
Not what's his name? Delap, right? Liam Delap.
Well done, Joel. Love that. Love that. Rory likes to do a job. Do it long throws into the box.
Liam Delap, right? How much is he going for?
30
mil.
There you go. I'll take him and a Nico Williams at the same time.
Left it too late to get Liam, though, haven't they? They've left
I know, but that's an example, though, right?
It's a good argument. So you're saying Arsenal should have maybe gone for Liam Delap with his dad Rory in the stands watching. But they should have gone for Liam at 30 million, and then that would, and then put the money out on a wide player. I think that's a really interesting argument. Maybe Arsenal have missed a trick, but I think Sesko will be good, or I think either of them will be good.
Yeah. Hey, Liv.
What? Who do I think's better for out of Sesko and Gyökeres?
Yeah.
I think, like, I sort of agree with Luke. I think Arsenal have been interested in Sesko for longer, but I really like Gyökeres. And actually, if we hadn't spent 30 million on Liam Delap, and I know Chelsea are in for Ekitike as well, it looks like we might get someone as well as Liam Delap, but I really like Gyökeres. There's something about him. Every time I watch him, and admittedly, I don't watch him a lot. You know, I watch him probably as much as the average fan does, but I'm not a hardcore sporting fan. Like, I don't sit there every week and watch them. But from what I've heard, Gyökeres is it. But I think, I think Arsenal, either or. You just need someone up there, don't you?
At this point, I could do a job. Anyway, Luke, I want to say thank you very much for joining us. You can stay up to date with Luke's work across the Telegraph's platforms, as well as at Luke Edwards Telly on X. This is Market Madness on GiveMeSport.
Right. I think Ben is back, and I think he's got some breaking news for us.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is an exclusive on Nico Williams, a potential target for Chelsea and also Arsenal. But we've said many times it's a costly deal. Both of you are getting excited. It's bad news for each of you.
I'm not, because I already know this is not good news.
Nico Williams has started initial talks to sign a new contract at Athletic Bilbao, worth a number pushing 10 million euros. And he's a bit like Martin Zubimendi in the sense he's in love with Athletic Bilbao. It's heading into a World Cup year. He may just want to stay. And it will be interesting if he does, whether the 58 million euros release clause, which right now is market value, is changed and maybe made higher and harder for suitors. Williams is already on a good wage at Athletic Bilbao, same as Zubimendi. And even if somebody was to trigger that 58 million euros release clause, the player would have a big decision to make and might do what Zubimendi did when Liverpool came calling and say, no, he'll wait a year. Now we know Zubimendi is going to Arsenal. So Nico Williams staying at Athletic Bilbao is not to be ruled out. The salary on offer is high. The increase he'd get from any contract extension, even bigger. So this might be bad news for Chelsea and for Arsenal, although in fairness, I think Chelsea are leaning more towards Jamie Gittins and Alejandro Garnacho, and Nico Williams is more of a dream. One, because they don't know if they can persuade the player to leave now, and two, because if you add to that release clause the taxes, the agent fees, the wage, it's a very expensive deal. And I think Arsenal think the same as well. the exclusive news. There's always been a chance Nico Williams could stay at Athletic Bilbao, but now there are initial formal talks for him to sign a new deal. And crucially, that might result in his release clause changing and going significantly north of the current number, 58 million euros.
Wow, that's one to keep an eye on. I'm a bit sad. I like Nico Williams. I think he's brilliant. So, but Joel, you're shaking your head as well. Right. Anyway, what a show it's been so far. It's been very busy. We've had a Club World Cup guide with Lee Wingate from the Sweeper podcast, who told us to keep an eye on a few teams at the Club World Cup in America. We've had a summer transfer window preview with Luke Edwards from the Telegraph. But don't worry if you've missed anything, you can watch back the show on YouTube, X, and Facebook. All you have to do is search GiveMeSport, or you can listen back on your podcast app of choice. Just search for Market.
Now, Arsenal are champions. Sorry, Arsenal are, I didn't even have to say champions of Europe because we've never been champions of Europe.
It's new, isn't it?
Arsenal are champions of Europe, and joining us now to discuss this is Charlotte Harper, football commentator for the BBC and writer at The Athletic. Charlotte, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Joel. And then Olivia, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Now, Charlotte, talk to us about the game, man. Obviously, we beat Barcelona 1-0 in the Champions League final on Saturday, the 24th of May. If you can tell us a bit about the match, because I was just too excited, and obviously it was a great win for us.
Yeah, it seems like a lifetime ago. It's how quickly football moves on. But I think Barcelona have always brought their fans in massive contingents, and it's always felt like a home tie, even though it's a neutral venue. But Arsenal are probably the latest team to really have something to think about for the Barcelona fans, as they travelled really well. Barcelona were massive favourites, and they've never been in that position before as such clear favourites ahead of the game. But I think as Arsenal kept it tight, kept it to 0-0, the longer it went on, the more that Arsenal had the biggest chance, and Stina Blackstenius took her moment. But after 18 years of a wait, nobody expected it. And I think going into that game, everybody would have thought, yeah, Barcelona are going to win this. But it wasn't as if Barcelona were robbed. Arsenal just executed their game plan and were deserved champions on the day.
I mean, it's just, I think it's more ridiculous when you think of how Chelsea have dominated the WSL for the last 6 years, winning it 6 times in a row. And then Barcelona doing what they did to Chelsea in the semi-finals. I think it was 8-2 on aggregate. So, I mean, obviously winning the Champions League is an incredible achievement. But I think when you put all of that context around it, it makes it even more incredible that Arsenal were able to do what they did to that Barcelona side.
Absolutely. And Sonia Bonpasto at Chelsea was very clear on her intentions when she joined last season. We're here to win the Champions League. And that was their mission. Compare that to Arsenal, who parted ways with their manager, Jonas Eidevall, had a bit of, uncertainty of who their next manager would be. For 3 months, they didn't give René Slegers the full-time job until January. Were very inconsistent in the league, and then launched several comebacks in the knockouts to get to the final. Compare that with Chelsea, who completely dominated, won the treble, and were 12 points clear of Arsenal in the league. But then to concede 8 goals against Barcelona, it was a real shock. It was a massive shock.
Now, when it comes to Arsenal, what we've done very well is we've been able to get the recruitment right. So Alessia Russo from Man United being a perfect example. Can you see that carrying on this summer? The good transfers, that is.
I think the Arsenal squad are heading for a rebuild. They definitely have players who are older, reaching, more to the twilight of their career, and then kind of 26, 27, 28-year-olds. So this is a turning point for them. They have said that, they're attracted by England players because of that commercial appeal. And we've seen that in the attendances as well, especially after the Euros. If you think of Leah Williamson, Beth Mead, Alessia Russo, that their key summer signing last year was Mariona Caldente from Barcelona, who has been crucial to them throughout the season. So an interesting time for Arsenal in that kind of transition period. I don't think winning the Champions League will affect their recruitment massively, because they have always wanted to recruit Champions League winning players. That has been their goal, to be in those Champions League finals. And even the money that they earn from the Champions League final itself, it's at just under 300,000, and they made a loss going to the final. But what it will influence is just stamping their authority on where they are in the women's game. And I think players will be attracted to Arsenal given that Champions League triumph and their record, and they're known for those big attendances at the Emirates.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember, I mean, obviously back when Chelsea won it, when Chelsea won the Champions League, and Eden Hazard said, "I'm signing for the Champions League winner." It's like that is a big thing that draws players to clubs. And so maybe some players that weren't thinking about joining Arsenal, now that they've won the Champions League, they then become a way more attractive club. But I suppose one question is, can they sort of now that they've won that, I believe personally that the Champions League is the biggest trophy to win. I know some people say the league is, but I prefer the Champions League. Now that they've won the Champions League, has their focus got to be back on trying to disrupt Chelsea in the league? Because they've been so dominant now for so many years, that is it time for someone new to win it?
It has to be. Like, the league is your bread and butter.
Yeah.
Emma Hayes always said that, and it's consistency, and that's what Arsenal have lacked last year. I mean, they haven't won the league since 2019, so there has definitely been a trophy drought, despite their 2 League Cup wins in 2023 and 2024. But I think the two should come hand in hand. If you have that squad depth and you have that quality, then they should close the gap on Chelsea. But that's hard. Chelsea have a formidable team, and yes, they lost to Barcelona, but I think that was more about the evolution of Sonia Bonpastor and how she wants to play. Playing Barcelona over 2 legs is very different to playing Barcelona over just one in the final. But yeah, in order for Arsenal to really continue, or probably, given their historic success in the women's game, to return to the top table and lay the foundations and make sure they're consistently picking up trophies.
And just finally, Charlotte, I hope I'm right in thinking that you're at the Nations League right now.
I am, yeah. I'm in Barcelona for Spain against England tonight.
Oh my God, a dream. I'm in Spain right now, and it's very cloudy. I don't know what it's like in Barcelona. I'm fuming. I've got it today and the sun's not out. So, but tell us a little bit about that game then. What's going on there?
So this is the final game before Serena Wiegmann makes her squad for the European Championships this summer in Switzerland. She announces that squad on Thursday, so just 48 hours time. She will say in classic Wiegmann fashion that the focus is on the Nations League, and of course it's a winner takes all tonight. So if England beats Spain, they advance to the Nations League semi-finals in October, and that does have serious consequences because it aids their World Cup qualification for 2027. So there's lots going on, but the real main focus is how is this England machine performing against the reigning world champions, Spain, ahead of the Euros, which starts in just about a month's time. All eyes will be on Hannah Hampton, given Mary Earps's retirement. The absence of Millie Bright at the back is a talking point as well. And then those fringe players who really want to make kind of a last rallying cry, really, to try and squeeze into the 23-person squad for the Euros this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlotte, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy Barcelona, enjoy the game. You can keep up with her work on The Athletic and by following her on X. She's at Charlotte Harper. For more info on any of the stories we've discussed and so much more, you can head to GiveMeSport.com. This is Market Madness from GiveMeSport.
All right, so it looks like, oh, there he is. There he is. It's time that we have a game that we're meant to be playing, right? So it's like real team, fake team. Are you ready for this? Because I can't remember what our scores are when it comes to the game. Someone needs to remind us. Like we were competing really well at one point.
I reckon. I don't know what the scores are, but I reckon I'm winning. So
That is but come on, like you're lying.
okay, Ben, you're a host. What have you got for us?
Yes. So the game is real or fake. And these are football teams, as you know. And I have, by the looks of things, 6. So let's hope it's not a 3-3. Otherwise, I'm going to have to find a tiebreaker. Your first team name, real or fake? Joel, I'm going to come to you first, but you both get an answer for every question. Super Army Soldiers.
Oh,
Real or fake?
Real.
you said real. I'll just go fake then.
And the correct answer is fake.
Yes.
Liv leads 1-0. I mean, that was never going to be real. I love the fact Joel's new thing is like walk away when he's not happy now. Walk under his chandelier and sulk. All right. So, Liv, you get the first answer here. I'm going to alternate it.
Okay.
Second team, FL Fart.
I'm gonna go fake, but it's gonna be true, isn't it? It's gonna be real.
Well, so if it's going to be true, why don't you go true?
I'm gonna stick with fake. Joel.
Okay, Liv goes fake.
Go real.
I'm
Joel?
going fake as well.
Joel's going fake. And you are both wrong. It is a real team name,
I
FL
knew that was
Fart.
gonna be it.
They play in Norway.
That's
No way.
ridiculous. I suppose
No,
fart,
Norway, Joel, not Norway.
fart doesn't probably mean what it does in Norwegian, does it? So it's just stupid.
Yeah. But anyway, still 1-0 to Liv. Joel, you get to answer next. And the team name is Avengers Assemble.
No,
Fake.
yeah, that's fake. Gotta be.
Both go fake. That's pretty easy. And the correct answer is fake. Avengers
We're in
Assemble is
there.
your like 5-a-side football team. If you're comic Marvel fans, it's never going to be a real football team. So Liv is still leading 1-0. Okay, Liv to answer first. Friendship FC. Real or fake?
Oh, I hate this game. It's so hard. I'm gonna go fake, even though it's probably gonna be real again.
Joel?
How many
He's
questions
thinking
do we
about
have?
it.
How many questions do we have left?
2 after this.
Just go real. Just make it a bit interesting, Joel. Do you know what I mean?
No. I'm playing a tactical game here.
You're losing.
You're losing 1-0, so you
Don't
can't
worry,
keep
it's a
answering what
tactical
she
game.
answers,
Don't
or you're
you
never going to win.
worry.
It's gone
Fake.
fake as well.
Yeah.
You're going fake.
Yeah.
This is disappointing. It's real, and they are a UK-based
Ah!
Joel, you're rubbish.
No, but no, there's still 2 questions after this. This is where I come alive.
team. Friendship FC play in the Lincolnshire, Gainsborough and District Sunday Football League in England. So I'm disappointed neither of you got that. All right, Liv answering first. SV Robin Hood. SV Robin Hood.
Real.
Fake or real? Liv goes real.
I'm going fake.
This is the one you're sure on, Joel, is fake. Because
Listen,
if you're
this is where I
wrong
come alive.
and you
This
don't
is
just
where I
go
come
with
alive.
Liv, then you don't take it to the final
You
question.
watch the because then you're playing for a draw, innit? This isn't
Come on.
Southgate football. Like, come on. This is where I come alive.
So you're going for the win, although I'm cautioning you. Are you sure you would like to go against
Ben!
Liv's
I'm
answer?
going for it. I'm going for it. This is where I come alive.
However foolish it may seem, you're sticking to your answer.
Ben.
This is where I come alive. I'm standing on it.
All right, final answer.
I don't know.
It is real, and Liv wins the game 2-0.
He even tried to help you, Joel. He even tried to help you, and you still.
I was desperate
you
to
still
give you
failed.
a chance.
I don't
Okay,
think he was
now-
trying to help me, but anyway, go on. It's fine.
I'm always trying to help you. You're on the same team here. All right, now we go to our bonus question. Liv's already victorious, so this is basically like a Liverpool title parade, and Joel's just Arsenal watching and looking for some salvation.
All right.
But I'm going to let you answer first, Joel, in the hope that you can finally get one right. Ethiopian coffee, real or fake?
Fake.
Liv?
I mean, I'll go real. I've already won. So.
You've already won. So you can be that bold and go for that third resounding point and victory. And you've got it. It is real. Ethiopian coffee is an Ethiopian football team.
That is
Shock
a
horror.
wash.
Didn't I get a point for getting the right answer with Liv like a few questions ago? I did get one
No.
right.
If you both answered the same, nobody gets a point.
Oh, well, anyway, unlucky. That is a white wash.
I'm not even going to say.
I'm surprised you didn't know Ethiopian coffee because they are a top tier Ethiopian Premier League team fighting for the title at the moment against another team called Ethiopian Insurance. So Ethiopian Insurance are first. Ethiopian coffee are in second place. And in fact, there is another team in the league also with coffee in them called Sidama Coffee, and they're in fourth place.
Brilliant.
You know what? I need to brush up on my Ethiopian league.
You need to brush up on your league.
Yeah, I really do. But you know what? I think it's time to finish the show with Ben's question challenge.
Well, we got a bit of breaking news as well, Joel, before that, I think. So we've spoken before on Market Madness about Luis Diaz, and there's a very realistic possibility that he leaves Liverpool. I can now tell you that Al Nassr have received approval for central funding to bid for Luis Diaz. And that's important because these kind of deals need to be underwritten by the Ministry of Sport. So it's one thing wanting a player, it's another thing being given the funds. And now Al Nassr are in a position to make an approach to Liverpool, which could come in the month of June, but they're not in the Club World Cup, so they don't need to act as urgently as other teams. But Al Nassr are hoping to bid in the region of 80 to 85 million euros for Luis Diaz, and then get a green light from the player to move to Saudi Arabia. And although my understanding is that Diaz is open to Saudi, it's complicated by the fact that Barcelona are also there. But of course, Liverpool would rather sell to Saudi if they sanction a sale, because Barcelona won't be able to match that number of 80 to 85 million. So a lot's going to depend on Diaz now. It's not 100% guaranteed he leaves Liverpool because he's contracted until 2027, but there's 80, 85 million that's soon likely to be on offer from Al Nassr because Diaz is their top target. And then we wait and see how Barcelona respond. I can also tell you that Al Nassr are hoping to bring in David Hanko as well. And if they miss out on Luis Diaz, they may decide to make a bid for Alejandro Garnacho as well, who's on the radar of both Napoli and Chelsea. And then Nassr, in trying to be busy, still are deciding whether to try again for Karim Mitoma and have both Antoine Semenyo and Mohamed Kudus on their list of options as well. It's unlikely they'll get both Semenyo, Mitoma, but it's possible they might get one of those two and still go for Kudus, who has 125 million euros release clause set specifically for Saudi clubs. But Al Nassr feel that 100 million euros might be good enough to get West Ham United to settle. And to me, this feels like a move from Al Nassr to try and line up business early whilst persuading Cristiano Ronaldo to extend. That extension for Ronaldo is not done. His contract expires as it stands on the 30th of June. Some talk that he'll be off instead to Al Hilal for the Club World Cup. Other suggestions, he'll leave Saudi altogether. Al Nassr want Ronaldo to stay, and getting in some of these star names will help their cause.
I have to say, for me, if I'm Luis Diaz, I'm getting the heck out of there. 80, 85 million is massive stuff. And I think for Garnacho, going back to what you've been talking about, Ben, there's no way he should be going anywhere near the Saudi league at this point in his career. He's still got too much. His idol Ronaldo wouldn't do that, not at this time in his career. So I don't think he's going to do it anyway. I don't think he follows that. But anyway, thank you very much for the breaking news. I think it's now time for your challenge question. We wanted to know, what is the latest on Federico Chiesa's future at Liverpool? The slot want to keep him. Ben, your answer.
Yeah, these transfer rumours keep persisting. It hasn't worked out perfectly for Chiesa, but my understanding is it's still more likely we'll get a pre-season for Chiesa and Liverpool, and then a final decision will be made. Chiesa actually spoke to the Italian media only a few days ago, and he refused to rule out the possibility of a return to Serie A. And I think that were he to leave, that remains his most likely destination. I know that from a personal and cultural point of view, he very much liked living in Italy. So a return there would be his preference if he is to leave Liverpool. I think there's a couple of Italian clubs that are alert to his situation. One is Lazio and the other is Napoli. But at this stage, there's no bid from Italy for Chiesa, and he'll explore his options in pre-season. Liverpool are not desperate to force Chiesa out right away, but I think with the level of business that they're doing, outgoings will still be important to Liverpool, despite the fact that their PSR position is strong. And this is why we may have to be a bit patient and wait for pre-season. But there is a possibility that Liverpool will be open to offers for Chiesa, but it will all be decided just a little bit further down the line after Arne Slot has had the chance to spend more time with the player and give him some games during pre-season.
Right, perfect. Thank you very much, Ben. You smash these question challenges every single time. I wonder if there'll ever be a show that you don't.
Can try and stump me.
we will try. Joel, Ben, thank you as always. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. We will catch you in a couple of weeks' time. As usual, we'll be talking about the biggest football transfer stories with plenty of top guests like we've had today. You can watch us live on YouTube, X and Facebook, or search GiveMeSport, or you can listen back on your podcast app of choice. Just search for Market Madness. And of course, for more information on any of the stories we've discussed and so much more, head to GiveMeSport.com. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.